my fellow freedom low sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning to LL3-Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful realms of planet Earth. Today's date is Sunday, January 19th, 2025. This is episode 1804, the Heinous Biden Years. Before I proceed, you can follow me on multiple social media sites and podcast channels. Just type in Loki Luck number 3, Loki Luck Roman number 3 with 3 eyes, or the Loki Luck Roman number 3 podcast. Furthermore, if you have any questions, comments, recommendations, and all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. Send it to me via email at ll3.podcast@proton.me. If you want to donate, go to paypal.me, cash.app/Loki Luck number 3. You can hit me at Steemit at LL3-Podcast. And there's other sites you can look for as well. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I tried to do a live feed and it didn't come out impressive, so I scrapped it. That's all well and good. Had to reset my phone and all that. Just need more gigabytes, probably need a better phone. So what happens when you get these cheap ones, right? For $40. Hey, but it works out okay. Gotta be a lot more minimal, but it's all well and good. Went through some of the websites. Same thing as usual. And it's interesting because I seen this one here from climatedepot.com. Talk about a flashback, 1938. LA fires burned more than 50,000 acres and destroyed lots of Hollywood actors' homes. 2025. LA fires have burnt about 40,000 acres. This is normal climate of California. This came out on the 18th. That's by Mark Morano. Here's an actual article on this too from the Lincoln Journal-Star that came out November 24th, 1938. Homes of film actors among those burnt. Damage near Los Angeles rated at $3 million. Hollywood Beach threatened. 2,000 men fought desperately to bring under control to forest fires that threatened further destruction in Southern California after burning over 50,000 acres of land and destroying between 600 and 700 homes. The houses destroyed and in danger included the country estimates of many movie stars. The $500,000 Will Rogers Ranch in the exclusive California Riviera district was evacuated by Mrs. Rogers and her sons when a shift in the wind blew the flames down from a ridge. The hose crews lined up along the outskirts of the ranch and attempted to fight back the blaze. Nearby is the Riviera Country Club, playground of movie stars, with 2 polo fields, a golf course, and a clubhouse. Included in the houses destroyed was one belonging to Madeline Carroll, blonde, English actress. The $1 million Arrowhead Springs Hotel, owned by film and producer Joseph Shettick, was a mass of ruins. And of course, someone here tweeted from Tony Heller, which is at Tony Climate, so it's pretty cool. So I'm glad they're putting this out there. I'm not saying I'm praising what occurred in LA, but little history lesson here. So definitely check it out. But yeah, it's just always have those moments. But the whole thing is, a lot of it still could have been prevented. Based on what I've examined and hear reports about incompetency and all that. And this is why when they want to use these lingos instead of meritocracy, it goes hell in a handbasket. Interesting there indeed. But still give if you could support the people there in LA, that'd be great. Even small cubicle homes and so forth, they'll be very well blessed. But however, you got to look at the whole smart cities, technocratic platform by the World Economic Forum, making 15-minute cities for complacent people. Allah, let's see the movie or read a book, Logan's Run. You can say it goes hand in hand when you think about it. So, yeah, insane indeed. And I was watching this one video from the civil rights lawyer talking about this one lady who was got arrested around Christmas time for endangering a child, and the ages were different, so like 27 years younger, and they still threw her in jail anyway in Broward. So I sent a tweet to Sheriff Tony, who was on his watch. Could you explain this, sir? You know, like I said, when did Broward Sheriff's Office create a illiterate division? Because a lot of discrepancies on that. Yeah, go to the civil rights lawyer. You can look for him. He has the videos up, YouTube, Rumble, and all that. It's very chilling. And how many other people in Broward County in general have been arrested for the same thing? Mistaken identities, didn't say a word. I'll give you a little story that happened to me like 13 and a half years ago. 13 and a half? About close to 14 years ago. I was walking down the road when I was in Florida, heading to the store. Heard all these sirens and ruckuses a few blocks away. And the sidewalk was pretty banged up, so I decided to hit the soft shoulder, and I always had that routine for the sidewalk, and I, just move along there, and the officer sped on that road, boom, had that gun on, go on the floor now, had the 9mm pointer right at me. I'm like, oh great, so they roughed me up, but wasn't excessive. Okay, I'll admit that. What happened was to look for a person that fitted my description. Yeah, long hair, white man, long hair and a beard. I'm like, oh, great, I've been profiled. So remember, folks, racial profiling, that's a hoax. Profiling does exist, okay? You're talking to a man who's a Caucasian, for goodness sakes. So, so what happened was everything, they tell me what was going on. And they're getting other people. They're detaining other people with the same description in the park. It was a holiday park. They've done that and for the description. So when the victim, they pointed and they said I didn't match the suspect, so they let me go. And the officer actually did apologize, And unfortunately, I forgot his name. But he asked me, "How come you were scared when you came by?" I explained to him about the sidewalk. Because it's all a bit damaged. So I, for my safety, I went on the street. Then I go right by the church, and the sidewalk starts to is actually paved. But he did apologize, and he goes, "Your cooperation has been greatly appreciated." So you got to look at the human element. That's why I don't go around cop bashing anything like that. But when I see video, especially video footage of the warrant they had for that one individual. Too many discrepancies, and they have the wrong person, they still want to throw her in jail. That's pretty damn derisive indeed. And I know Institute for Justice has got her claim. Go to ij.org. Mistaken Identity gets it called. I got to look that up again. Florida Mistaken Identity. And she's from Texas, too, so it's very unacceptable. And they didn't apologize or anything like that. They treated it like a damn number. So how many people have been treated like that? It doesn't matter where it's at. And I find this unacceptable. That's why I'm not afraid to call out these sons of bitches. Excuse my language. And this is the reason why I asked Sheriff Tony when he had a illiterate division in the Broward Sheriff's Office. I would love to hear from you, sir. As far as I'm concerned, you should have been voted out, even though Ron DeSantis put you in. And I'm not going to go after Paddock or anything like that because they did recommend it because Broward County is a majority registered Democrat. So I understood that area. However, Gregory Tony should have taken the initiative, and of course the internal affairs were saying, oh yeah, everything by protocol. No, they didn't. They couldn't read. and what's his name, Deputy Pereira? Whatever, De Pereira? A fool. You're a total fool. You're not a man, but a chump in my book. Hell. Another fiasco. When government knows best, right? So I had to take that off my chest. But it is a sham. But go to Civil Rights Lawyer on YouTube or Rumble. You can look for him. He does put a lot of good videos out there. And technology is the key to educate yourselves, folks. So please don't be a slave to the system. We've all been swindled one way or the other. Well, without further ado, I will leave that link too for the climatedepot.com. You read for yourselves. First thing we're going to be doing here will be from naturalnews.com. Came out today. The 10 ways the Biden years were the worst 4 years in the history of our nation. And congratulations for surviving. The Biden administration is characterized as a tyranny that has led the U.S. through a period of unprecedented corruption, violence, and oppression. This is by S.G. Wells, by the way. The author congratulates those who have managed to survive what they describe as the terror era of the vaccine industrial complex, forced vaccinations, and other oppressive measures. They claim the communist-run Biden administration is responsible for a range of catastrophic events, including a near World War III situation, the COVID-19 pandemic, and severe weather events. The text also accuses the administration of destroying American values, institutions, and infrastructure through various means, including election fraud, censorship, and the promotions of ideology like DEI and CRT. There has never been a worse time in history for Americans to try to live their lives in peace, serenity, safety, and good health as the past 4 years under the Biden tyranny. Led by Obama and his communist cohorts, the U.S. government engaged in more corruption, embezzling, Ponzi schemes, drug running, human trafficking wars, staged mass tragedies, and censorship than ever before in history. It's been a 4-year horror story, and anyone who has survived is to be congratulated. Congratulations for the survivor, the terror era of the vaccine industrial complex. Are you fully vaccinated? Congratulations for surviving the terror era of the vaccine industrial complex and the scamdemic of the century. Are you living your life outside of a prison cell? Congratulations for surviving the most absurd persecution of liberty and warping of the justice system the world has ever seen. Do you still have a home? Congratulations for surviving the Biden regime's weather weapons that destroyed millions of people's livelihood, homes, land, and businesses across North Carolina and Los Angeles. Do you own your own small business and still have it up and running? Congratulations on surviving the COVID pandemic, which all of these mandates where everyone was threatened with forced vaccination of the deadly clot shots, businesses shuttered during the lockdowns, a limitation of the number of patrons, social distancing, the funding of conservative nonprofits, mass inflation, and supply chain crippling. Number one, the communist Biden regime brought us the closest to World War III that the USA has ever been by attacking Russia through the proxy of Ukraine and funding terrorists and their jihad regimes across the globe. Number two, by helping launch, propagate, and perpetuate the entire pandemic of COVID-19, the murdered millions of Americans by dirty mRNA vaccines, organ-decimating pharma drugs, and deadly hospital protocols. Number three, by opening up the southern border for human trafficking, hard drug imports, cocaine, heroin, and fentanyl, and the mass illegal immigration of criminals and mental patients. All hail to the Club of Rome. Hip, hip, hooray. Chip, chip, hooray. Right? Like cow chip. Number 4, by wrecking the U.S. education system with perverted curriculum, DEI, CRT, reverse discriminatory, critical race theory, gender fluid identity madness, drag queen story, and gender queer pronoun insanity. 10th Amendment, my friends, that's the solution to federal government overreach. All right. Number 5, by devastating the infrastructure, supply chain, agriculture, environment, and power grid with the scandemic, weather weapons, fake climate change narratives, Green Deal mandates, factory fire and explosions, and mass casualty stage events. Number 6, by attempting to destroy Americans' religious faith, ethics, morals, human rights, and the Constitution itself. Number 7, by building and utilizing the biggest election fraud system the nation has ever seen, including falsified ballots, vote flipping machines, illegal immigrants voting, fake polls, fake candidates that were never voted for, and fake news about it all. Number 8, by censoring conservative voices like never before in history, using media and the banking system as a weapon to police and prosecute any person or organization that defy the false narratives and the communist takeover of the nation. Number 9, with the help of George Soros, Barack Obama, installing the most crooked judges at all levels, district attorneys, prosecutors, and officials at the 3-letter agencies, including the FDA, CDC, CIA, FBI, DHS, EPA, USDA, and HHS. Number 10, weaponizing the Department of Justice for falsely accuse, arrest, and prosecute, jail thousands of patriots, peaceful protesters, and whistleblowers who are trying to reveal the absolute fraud and corruption of the Biden regime. Keep your truth news in check by adding preparedness.news to your favorite list and tuning in daily for updates on real news about surviving and thriving in the near future and news that's being censored from MSM, and social media as you read this. Congratulations, surviving Biden. Oh, yes. And of course, you got the Attorney General. Hi, I'm Merrick Garland. I was never a man. Don't you dare call out the school board on the curriculum that my daughter and son-in-law are making, and you're hurting their business. And when you do that, I'm going to label you as potential terrorist. What a weasel that maggot is. I'm sorry. That guy, I was like, look, when I take a dump, okay, folks, I find that more merited than that goofball. Merrick Garland. Garland for prison. Come on, you know. And you don't get me wrong, folks. I'm no Trump fawner myself. You gotta watch them all. All right, plain and simple. When you trust the government, then you are a little bad at history. Okay, it's that simple. But I'm gonna do one more here about Biden's legacy. Came from the Brownstone Institute. I'm going to say Brown Nose. Sorry. Brownstone Institute. Good site, by the way. I like it. They're far right. No, they're not. Biden's legacy, COVID persecution, censorship, and across-the-board oppression. This is by James Bovard. As it reads here, Joe Biden's presidency ends on January 20th, 2025. There will likely be a media stampede to hollow his reign and trumpet his virtues. But Biden perpetually trampled his January 20th, 2021 the oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. In his 2022 State of the Union address, Biden declared, "When dictators do not pay a price for their aggression, they keep moving." And he kept moving until his own political party dumped him. Later in 2022, Biden proclaimed that liberty is under assault. But he was referring solely to a few court rulings of which he disapproved, not the federal supremacy he championed for almost 50 years in the Senate and the White House. How dare you do that to me? I'll continue on. The absurdity of the Biden reign was epitomised in July when he was browbeating into ending his re-election campaign. in Biden's 11-minute speech announcing that decision, everything was sacred, including the Oval Office, this sacred space, this sacred cause of this country, the sacred task of perfecting our union, and the sacred idea of America. Biden announced that I revered this office, a hint that viewers should revere him. To Biden has worshipped political power his entire life, and it was no surprise that religiosity suffused his valedictory address. Biden asked, does his character in public life still matter? That most of the cover-ups of his abuses and potential kickbacks will continue at least until January. No wonder Hunter Biden had a big smile as he had just sat outside of the video suite in the Oval Office, but Biden never permitted his Attorney General, Merrick Garland, to release the audio tape of Biden's bumbling interview with Special Counsel Robert Hur, perhaps the single biggest step toward Biden's expulsion from American political life. Biden told viewers on that July spiel, nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. So the Democratic Party bosses had no choice but to nullify 15 million primary ballot cast for Biden and jam a replacement candidate down the nation's throat. For a year, the Democratic Party has equated vanquishing or destroying Trump with saving democracy, justifying any tactic, fair or foul, to thwart him. Ginning up bogus criminal charges to get Trump locked away from voters? Check. Using the FBI and other federal agencies to target anyone who is too enthusiastic about MAGA? Check. I call it the War on Terror Playbook 101. Perhaps Biden's biggest innovation was his doctrine that preserving democracy requires destroying freedom of speech. His appointees launched the Disinformation Governance Board to police Americans' criticisms of government and plenty of other topics. Hey, can we say the Seditions Act 5.0? You're right. The Orwellian name helped torpedo that board, but that was never even the tip of the iceberg of federal abuses. A federal appeals court slammed the Biden administration for conducting an unconstitutional censorship pressure campaign designed to coerce social media companies into suppressing speakers, viewpoints, and content disfavored by the government. But the same court found that censors, especially targeted speech by conservatives and Republicans. For at least 15 years, Biden relied on a two-step routine, ruthlessly vilifying his opponents and then appealing to our better angels. A phrase recycled from Lincoln's first inaugural address. Biden lured listeners into assuming he is personally one of those better angels as he flailed anyone in the way of his latest power grab. From portraying any Republican who wanted to cut domestic spending as a terrorist in 2011 to claiming that Mitt Romney wanted to put black people back in chains in the 2012 presidential campaign, to endlessly misrepresenting the 2017 violence at the Charlottesville protest. Biden out Nixon. Wow. Mitt Romney. Hi, I'm Mitt Romney. I'm a flip-flopping hack. I am a twin brother. I am a Goldman Sachs twin brother to Barack Obama. Think about it, folks. Come on. It's all like a show, dog and pony show, right? I'll continue on here. The media has seen it. Biden on civil rights, despite his champion crime legislation in the Senate that vastly increased the number of Black and Hispanic citizens sent to prison. In a 2019 piece headlined, Joe Biden and the Era of Mass Incarceration, the New York Times hyped Biden's favorite fix. Lock the SOBs up. In his final full month Before being demoted to lame duck status, Biden made a last lunge to portray himself as the savior of the Constitution. After the Supreme Court decision blocked rigged political prosecutions of former President Trump, an outraged Biden condemned the decision. Seemingly speaking down from Mount Olympus, Biden declares that the president's face moments where you need the wisdom to respect the limits of the powers of the office of the presidency. But then he claimed, I know I will respect the limits of the presidential power as I have for 3.5 years. That line obliterated all the president's lofty pretenses. While Biden piously invoked the rule of law in that brief statement, he consistently behaved as if his good intentions entitled him into dictatorial power. Biden speedily followed up by a proposing no one is above the law constitutional amendment. But Biden would have been more honest if he labeled his pitch the no one is above the law except me amendment. I'm Joe Biden. I'm the first white privileged president in U.S. history. Some say, oh, he may be Jewish. Don't matter. He's a privileged old boy. Okay, that's what Joe Biden is. In the same week that Biden trumpeted his proposed amendment, he announced new schemes to avoid complying with the Supreme Court ruling forbidding him from illegally and unilaterally forgiving billions of dollars of federal student debt owned by 30 million people. Biden then openly bragged that the decision striking down this program didn't stop me from canceling student loan debt with one new scheme after another. No wonder almost half of the student loan debtors are not bothering to pay what they owe Uncle Sam. Well, how about the Federal Reserve, right? Question that, folks. The Biden administration presumed that federal policymakers are an elite automatically entitled to domineer other Americans. For example, Biden championed COVID vaccines as panaceas for the pandemic, promising that people who got injections will not get COVID. After vaccines massively failed to prevent COVID infections, the White House strong-armed the Food and Drug Administration to speedily bestow full approval of the Pfizer vax because of myocarditis problems. Biden then dictated that 100 million American adults must get those vaccines. I remember that speech he made. I just bust out laughing. Come and do it yourself there, old chump. You probably can't even wipe your own butt. You still got those probably wearing diapers. Remember that smell moment, right? On D-Day. In January 2022, the Supreme Court struck down Biden's vaccine mandate for 84 million employees of large private companies. The Supreme Court also struck down Biden's illegal extension of a COVID-era eviction moratorium, scoffing at the administration's attempt to justify the edict via an old law dealing with fumigation and pest extermination. But the president's team perpetuated the COVID emergency and all the additional powers for the White House as long as possible. Team Biden even dictated that 2-year-old children in Head Start must wear a mask all day, but that wasn't dictatorial because children were permitted to briefly remove the mask when they ate meals. Do you remember that? Very delusional, folks. Yeah, program, ho, rah, rah, program, rah, rah, rah. All hell to mind control, right? Americans have been grouse about TSA agents browbeating them to show your papers prior to groin grabbing and enhanced pat-downs. I recommend folks don't take a bath for a few days, be real smelly, and open those crotch legs, let them enjoy the aroma. It's time for them to earn their money, right? Not all of them are bad, but the ones, give it to them, baby. I'll continue on. The Biden administration solved the paperwork problem by permitting illegal aliens to board domestic flights merely by showing their arrest warrants from the Department of Homeland Security. Senator Jim Risch, Republican from Idaho, growled, if an Idahoan can get a speeding ticket, they can't use a ticket to board a plane. So why does the president seem to think an illegal immigrant arrest warrant is valid form of identification to board a plane, right? TSA wizards recently launched a social media campaign to ridicule their victims, meaning any American who does not approach a TSA checkpoint practically stripped down like a convict entering a prison shower. The failures of TSA's whole body scanners are legendary, but that didn't deter Biden. TSA policymakers from launching a vast facial recognition system that even the Washington Post condemned. I've seen that. I'm like, what? Good grief. All hell to the technocracy, right? Biden weaponized federal law at the same time he exempted himself and his appointees from the statute book. FBI agents conducted a heavily televised raid on August 2022 on Trump's Mar-a-Lago home in Palm Beach, Florida, seizing 33 boxes of evidence and documents. 5 months later, the Justice Department announced that Biden may have also wrongly stored or possessed numerous classified documents in his home and offices. Trump was swiftly indicted for his alleged offenses, while Biden was effectively absolved because jurors would likely see him as an elderly man with a bad memory. Oh, yes, we love Jim Crow laws. That's right, the Jim Crow edicts, right? Politically speaking, that is. Although Biden was unfit to prosecute, he remained fit to possess almost boundless power over America and much of the world, at least until Democratic Party poobahs and billionaire donors carried out a de facto coup ending his re-election campaign. Biden is seeking to portray himself as the patron saint of the rule of law. The president spoke in July 2024 as he worshiped legal procedures, but his devotion is selective. Biden has stretched executive power far beyond reason, from attempt to use the school lunch program to force public schools to permit mixed gender showers and bathrooms to his perversion of Title IX to risk crippling girls' sports. This is why I say, folks, the 10th Amendment, decentralized, okay? To complement those power grabs, the Biden White House continually expanded the target for federal investigations, surveillance, including angry parents and school board members and frustrated young guys supposedly prone to involuntary celibate violent extremism. The FBI has illegally wiretapped more than 3 million Americans in recent years, but the Biden administration recently torpedoed congressional efforts to curb the surveillance crime spree. The FBI has 80 agents on a task force to curb subversive data utilized to wedge between populists and the government. Multiple offices across the nation may have secretly infiltrated church services to identify the bad Catholics, those who prefer traditional church services, according to FBI memos and whistleblowers. And FBI analysts justifying the target of Catholics portrayed rosaries as extremist symbols that help justify the federal targeting. The FBI aided Team Biden in portraying white supremacy as the nation's greatest terror threat by arresting legions of people who are guilty of parading without a permit during the January 6th protests at the Capitol. The FBI classified all that 1,000 people arrested on charges linked to January 6th as domestic terrorists, including peaceful grandmothers. No wonder people joke that FBI stands for following Biden's instructions. In a spiel last summer, before Democratic Party leaders labeled him mentally unfit, Biden invoked the character of George Washington, which he said defined the presidency, with his belief that the power was limited, not absolute. Biden that claimed that character was only restraint on the White House power, suggesting that Americans were luckier than ever to have him in Oval Office. Biden parading as a constitutional Vestal virgin is on par with Henry Kissinger winning the Nobel Peace Prize after ravaging Southeast Asia, an award that spurred Tom Lehrer to proclaim that satire was dead. Biden did not permit his victory laps to interfere with his ongoing cover-ups designed to assure that Americans remain ignorant of Biden administration scandals till after Election Day. Americans did not learn the hard facts, despite a congressional investigation about allegations of Tim Walz's connection. Sorry about that. Tim Walz's connections to the Chinese Communist Party. The full details on the Secret Service's failure to protect Trump or the White House string pulling for the federal censors, muzzling countless Americans to safeguard the Biden administration's reputation, and the Biden White House continue deluging Americans with phony claims of progress in Ukraine's war against Russia while refusing to disclose almost any details on exactly how the U.S. was intervening and risking World War III. Rather than pound the White House for belated disclosures that could change the outcome of the election, much of the media simply continued reciting, quote, "Orange Man bad," unquote. If The Wizard of Oz was a contemporary political campaign story, the media would overwhelmingly side with the guy behind the curtain. Nowadays, withholding evidence is the only proof of innocence required in Washington. As of 2023, Juneteenth celebration, Biden proclaimed that he would need a second term to literally redeem the soul of America. Biden missed that train. He also missed a chance to satisfy his gender-fluid supporters by publicly coming out and personally identifying as non-dictator. Biden helped turn Washington into a punity democracy in which government officials pay no price for their crimes, thanks in part to Biden's efforts in stretching back to the Nixon era. Americans today are more likely to believe in witches, ghosts, and astrology than to trust the federal government, which I never trust the government, period. But Biden's apologists will seek to redeem his name in the history books by defining down dictator instead of designating a ruler who tramples the laws and law and constitution. Dictatorship will only refer to presidents who publicly proclaim their plans to do bad things to good people. There's an earlier version piece was published by the Future of Freedom Foundation, FFF.org, if I'm correct. Well, what can we say about that, my friends? It is very demeaning indeed. Joe Biden is one weak and pathetic man. A bad career politician, habitual screw-up. A true bend-over Bob to the one world order. It doesn't matter what party he's in. His merits were awful, stupid, and lousy throughout his career. If anyone voted for him because they hate Trump so much, with all due respect and in good faith, you chose poorly and admit I'm being delusional. You're better off supporting libertarian candidates instead of Biden. You don't read, you don't study, you're obtuse. And don't get me wrong. The question I have, who has the higher IQ? Joe Biden or George W. Bush? Think about that, right? Who is more of a genius? I'm proud to say he was never my president. No regrets. He couldn't even talk. And people still, like the mainstream garbage media, still say he's doing great. Your media manipulation is dead in my realm. I never bought the hype, the propaganda, and it was not an insurrection. Yeah, many of them who got in there chose poorly. But you know what? It was done by design. Many of them were hired guns that were starting the ruckus. Citizen journalists rule, folks. I can tell you that. Even with the George Floyd protests, too. People want the protest, but they saw the troublemaker, they called them out. Tell them, get the F out of here or I'm going to destroy you. I'm just paraphrasing. People want to stand on principles. They don't want to be entrapped, regardless of what your views are. This is why Joe Biden, who cares? Another globalist hack who can never think for himself. And they had to pick Kamala, the bawd. She beat herself by having Waltz as her running mate. That's what I call bawd and treason 2024. There's your reason, folks. They beat themselves. Don't explain why. All you gotta do is look at them. Watch them speak. They were heinous, too. As far as I'm concerned, Tim Waltz needs to be charged for treason in the state of Minnesota for letting the National Guard stand down during an insurrection of the Minneapolis police that should be burnt to the ground. And you're bitching about Trump. Watch them all, folks. That's all I gotta say. Decentralized 10th Amendment stance. Execute the anti-commandeering doctrine. It's part of our American heritage. Need to execute it always. Consistently. With no exceptions. Any contract they sign is invalid or unconstitutional, is void and without force. Deep down inside, they know I'm right. Hope many of you agree. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And that will be it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share this throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, etc., whatever you do, please use the quorum. You can hit me email to ll3-podcast@proton.me. I'll leave the footnotes on this episode on the page. If you want to donate, go to paypal.me or cash.app/local3, or hit me at Steemit at LL3-Podcast, which is the number 3, by the way. If you want to support Natural News, Brownstone Institute, that'd be great. Shop. Send your money to them. And always observe responsibly. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.